Wi-Fi still good.
Hello all, how you all doing? This is Shawn Leonard, and it is Facebook Live time in the Spirit Talker Tribe interest group. It is September 23rd, 2019 at 8 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time. So is there anybody out there that's going to join me this evening for the Facebook Live? Looks like there's 4 people out there so far. 5 people are coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can't see who's jumping in yet, but I'm hoping to see soon. There's 17 people now. Keep them coming. Get everybody coming. If you can hear me, do a thumbs up or give me a wave or just let me know you're out there, because I know you're out there. So, and it hasn't popped up on the side of my screen. Can you see people over there? Oh, look at them. They all just popped up just like that. So hello, Jillian Leonard. Hello, Tim McLean, Denise Purcell, Paula Evans, Patsy Henneberry, Ann Bennett, Mary McGurin, Wanda Davis, Pat Hart. Thank you for all joining me this evening. I know there's so many more of you. And my handy-dandy assistant, Jenna. Say hi, Jenna.
Hi, everyone.
You want to come say hi?
Sure.
She's coming over to say hi, everybody.
Oh, God.
She's going to move off, get her off my couch here for a second. She's comfy. So here's Jenna. I think we all know Jenna, who's over here for the Facebook Lives when I'm doing in the Spirit Talker Tribe interest group to make sure that I'm connecting to everybody out there and helping me technically if I need it. And also like going through the questions that are submitted for the Facebook Lives. So this Facebook Live is about dreams. And this is actually a module that is in the course. And it was one of everybody's that was in the course last year. And there's a lot of people who are here tonight that are live in the Facebook group from last year's course as well. And I think it was probably one of the besides spirit guides and connecting your spirit guides and your angels and learning about your psychic abilities and gifts, the dream module was one of the biggest. And I have an uncanny ability to figure out and understand what dreams mean. And I can kind of walk you through how I know these things. And some people have actually submitted it. I have it in my iPad. So when I'm ready to actually go through the dreams that were already previously submitted to me, I will go through and read out some dreams, and I haven't read them actually because I want you to kind of see me processing it as I understand, or help you understand, or help the people who submitted them understand what these dreams are about. Hello, Kristen Span from down in the States there. I know you're down there somewhere. And hello, Joy Reno. And what else would I want to talk about tonight? Well, there's 7 days left of Spirit Talker Tribe interest group. And then I'll be archiving this group, and all of my interactions will be moving into the student group. And at that point, we start the modules and we go through a whole year, and I do weekly Facebook Lives with everybody that's in the student group and to go through all the modules and answering questions for people every week. So it's going to be an incredible year. We had an incredible year last year. I think most people have probably seen the group picture where we had Spirit Talker Tribe Live at the end of the year. I think there's about 175 people that came to Spirit Talker Tribe Live. So we had 300 and some people who signed up last year for the course, and 175 or so made it for the actual live event here in Halifax, which is a free event. If you finish the whole year and go through the whole course, you get to come to Spirit Talker Tribe Live Gathering Weekend absolutely free. And I have a couple announcements first before we get into the dreams. And I just want to put it out there. I'll put it out there at the end as well. I have a new bonus. If you've already signed up for Spirit Talker Tribe this year, there was a bonus for a free reading, which people have won. There was a coaching call that somebody's already won, and 2 free tickets to an event when I come near you to a location. And those were all drawn for. Hello, Peyton Young. How you doing? So I have a new bonus. And if you've already entered, you're going to be entered for the draw for these as well. But the new bonus is if you take Spirit Talker Tribe this year and you sign up in the next 7 days, there's an entry to Spirit Talker Tribe Level 2, which is my Level 2 course, because I have a Level 2 course beyond this course too that keeps going for people who wish to keep going. So if your name is drawn, you'll get the whole year. I mean, once you go through the whole year, you're going to get free entry to Level 2 course that is next year. Or you would have a free weekend retreat with me in Nova Scotia, because in the spring in Nova Scotia, I'll be doing a workshop at a space that is yet to be determined. But it's worth about $500, the retreat, because you'll actually get to come to the retreat. You'll be fed, you'll be housed where we're going. for the whole weekend, and there's a limited amount of people that can come to that. But you will, whoever gets drawn on the September 30th or on October 1st, I'll draw for this, will have a choice. They can get free entry to Spirit Talker Tribe the second year in level 2, or they could go for the free weekend retreat with me that I'll be doing in the spring. So it's completely up to you. So you just have to come to Nova Scotia, wherever you're from, and the weekend, your accommodations, your food, and everything will be paid for, and the course teaching itself will be paid for, which again has a value of about $500. So I was really excited. This is kind of like a surprise, like bonus. And if you've already signed up for the course, you will be entered. But if you haven't entered yet and you get in this week, you'll be eligible to be drawn for this next bonus. And it's your choice which one you would prefer to have. So let's get into dreams. This is one of my most awesome things that I love to talk about. And there's so many different types of dreams. But the first part of dreams, and a lot of people talk to me about their dreams. And I do dream analysis and helping people understand. And I know there's a lot of information out there about dreams, especially in connection to most people get dream books and figure them out, and they say, okay, this means this. Cow, you seen a cow on your dream, it means that. I don't necessarily subscribe to all of that. Sometimes those things are accurate or can be accurate, but some of those books are a little bit variously different depending which one you read, of the meanings of the symbols, the symbology in dreams. But there's different types of dreams. And I'm going to get into the 5 different types of dreams when I break a dream down, which helps me understand. And I'll describe each type of dream so that you will actually completely understand what different types of dreams and analyze your own, or analyze them for someone else. Hello, Dale Belcourt from Calgary. Okay, so the first thing that a lot of people talk to me about is, well, I don't dream. A lot of people tell me this, or they send me messages and say, well, I don't actually dream. And I would beg to differ, and depending on whether or not what type of sleeper you are, if you're taking medication, that can interfere with your dream time as well. But if we have 8 hours of sleep, we go through sleep cycles. And depending on what time you wake up during your sleep time, it greatly increases your ability to actually recall or remember a dream. And there's different levels of consciousness, and I'll go through them. The first one is the beta level. The beta level is where you're wide awake, you're fully alert. We're all in beta currently. And alpha is where you're resting or preparing to get ready for sleep. And you're kind of could daydream at this point. You're kind of like in and out of consciousness a little bit, but you're still awake. But you're still aware of your surroundings. And then theta level, when you go into your sleep cycle, and each cycle is 90 minutes long. So when you reach the theta level, that's where you would hit actually REM. And there's 2 different types of REM. There's REM sleep and non-REM sleep. And non-REM sleep is very deep sleep. And it's actually called the delta level of sleep. So if you're actually waking up from delta, there's a very high chance that you wouldn't remember your dreams because you're in a deep sleep cycle. But if you've been awoken quickly, and actually in the theta level of REM, then you're more inclined to actually remember your dreams. And I'm going to tell you about I've had several dreams in my life, and some are outlandish, and I don't even know, this one's kind of a silly one to me, but I had one last night, and it was kind of a crazy dream. It's like one of the craziest dreams. Considering we're going to talk about dreams, I thought it's too funny to not share. I thought it was kind of cool. I know there's probably lots going on in my head, but last night I dreamt. I didn't go to sleep till 2 because I was up working on the course and things. And I went to bed at 2, and I had a bowl of cereal, which was granola with blueberries in it before I went to sleep. So I'm thinking probably the fuel just before bed probably had kept me not in such a deep sleep, that there was energy fueling more a theta level than a delta level of sleep, or non-REM. So I was in the REM state much quicker because I was tired. I went through those other states very quickly, right to theta, and then when I woke up, I was still in the dream. And I remembered the dream very clearly. I woke up and I told my fiancée, Michelle, who was sleeping right beside me. I said, Michelle, I have this incredible dream that I have to tell you. It was crazy. I had to tell her right away. And that's another reason why a lot of people don't remember your dreams, is because when you wake up, you're kind of groggy, and you're in that alpha daydream level, and then you go right back to sleep, and then you've actually, like, it's like a little man in there with a little dustpan or a little vacuum's going on in your brain, and he's like vacuuming up all of your dreams in your brain, and it's like it's been sucked out of your head. You know, you dreamt, you can't remember what you dreamt, but you've actually gone from one cycle to another and not actually done anything to recall the dream. And so I do something in the course that I tell people to have a trigger object in your room. Typically would be like a dream catcher or something like that. And it's a dream anchoring thing. So you can put it in your window, and it does has energy. I mean, if you give it energy, you smudge it. And I go more into it in the actual teaching of the course itself. But the trigger object, when you wake up, if you look at it right away, the first thought that comes to your mind is, I remember my dreams. So if you wake up and you look at the dream catcher and you want to say, okay, what was I just dreaming? It makes you think about your dream, makes you think quicker. So it doesn't let you go back into the alpha or the beta or to the alpha state and then slide right back into sleep and then have it kind of taken from you. So if you have that anchoring device in your room that you look at, whether it's in your window or hanging from your light or wherever you have it, it's good to have it there. And it's also good to have a notepad by your bed, or you have somebody you could tell to, because if you can even tell somebody about your dream, then actually you are more inclined to remember. It's more because you've spoken, you've actually gone from alpha to beta where you're more awake, where you had to be more conscious so that you can recall your dreams. So I'll tell you about my dream. And I know you're going to think it's crazy because I think it's crazy, but it's funny. It's funny anyway. Last night I was dreaming, and before I went to sleep, I knew I was going to talk about dreams tonight. And I said that I'm going to, invited my guides to come visit me in my dream. And anyway, I woke up in this condo high-rise. For whatever reason, and a high-rise is a symbol of yourself, right? It's a building. So there's a symbology of this building that is me. And the higher it is, I mean, the higher the building, it has to do with your spirituality rising up, your energy rising up. So I was up on about the 8th or 9th floor, and I looked out this door, and there was this big flat area where a pool should be. And I saw my dad there, who was in spirit world. So I had a visitation with my dad for a moment. And I saw my dad for a second. I said, oh my God, Dad, I haven't seen you in so long in my dreams. And it was so cool to actually see him. And then he pointed out at the sky. And I was looking out at the sky, and I was thinking, oh my, there's stars in the sky, and there's a light up in the sky, and it's moving around. I'm like, I said, Dad, is that a UFO? And he just kind of kept pointing at it. Anyway, this UFO was floating around, and then it came and landed exactly right in that area outside this building. So this UFO comes down, these three little gray men that come out, who I've never had a dream of before, and they take me into I'm walking with them. My dad disappears, and now I'm in this UFO, and I get inside, and it's really large inside. And there's a bunch of other people there that I don't recognize. But anyway, when I'm in there, there's these three little gray guys with big eyes, the typical alien guys in there. And I'm trying to talk to them. I'm like, I don't know where I am, but why am I here exactly? Why am I here? And they said, well, there seemed to be like one boss or one person. He said, he makes all the decisions, but we need some people to help us. And I said, well, I mean, how do I help you? And he says, well, I don't know exactly yet. And I tried to talk to the one fellow, and he wouldn't answer my questions. But this guy was really nice. And then I saw Michelle there with me, but she was just kind of nonchalant sitting there and amongst all these other people. But inside the UFO, there was this couch, there was a coffee table, there were some chairs, there was all kinds of things around. It was pretty normalized. And I thought, okay, this is crazy. I said, well, if you need me to help you or work with you, then I'm open to that. And I think there's some symbology in this. I know I met my dad, and I may have been with aliens. Who knows? I don't really necessarily think that, but the fact that I'm in a ship with a bunch of people that I don't know, which could be students, that we're going to rise up. I mean, because UFOs float, we're rising up in our spirit. And I was already high in my spirit already, but it was like there was this thing ready to take off, and I was ready to take off with these other people. And I've just turned my guides, who apparently I must have three, and I only know two, although they were disguised, because when your guides show up in your room, sometimes they could show up as your best friend, as somebody that you can't see, their face is blurry, but they're guiding you with something, and it feels like that we're going to be working together with these people. And I think, not to make everybody seem like we're all strange in UFOs or anything, but I think it's just very symbolic of my guides helping me And my dad was saying that, he's working with my guides to help everybody that's in the course, etc. And I thought it was, what a strange way. And that's where in a dream, we can twist things, we can change things. So it's not really what it is, but it's something we're dealing with in our life. And we may have some anxiety over it, and maybe there was some anxiety in my own spirit around it, and I didn't realize it. But one of the types of dreams that you can have is a release dream. And like I said, and that's a most common dream that most people have, is there's a dream that you will have where you're going to be releasing energy. So, and I'm going to go through the different types of dreams just to give you a sense of what different types there are. And I'll get more into the release dreams because that's the predominant one that most people have. And actually some people prior to tonight's Facebook Live, I think there was about 4 or 5 people, have submitted their dreams ahead of time. And I only briefly gazed over them, so I'm going to go through them one by one and analyze them and figure it out what type of dream they are, and then what the message is in the dream itself or why they had the dream. And the first dream that some people are familiar with is a prophetic dream. And these happen sometimes to particular people. I used to have them before, but I've actually asked for them to stop because there were random events that were happening in the world that I would see. And I didn't want to see them anymore because not that it isn't cool to see something, but it was usually a tragedy that would happen in the world. And I asked my guides to not show them to me anymore because I didn't need to see the future for the world or the bad things that were going to happen necessarily in my dream time. So I would often have dreams of, and I did speak of some of these in my book, I believe, but there was one dream I remember being on Mount Everest. And I was on Mount Everest and I was at base camp and there was a few people around me and I saw the earth rumbling. And it felt like an earthquake and I didn't know what was happening, but I felt impending doom as I stood on Mount Everest. And then I woke up and I told somebody about my dream. So this is the reason why I remembered it, and I wrote it down. And anyway, within 2 or 3 days later, there was actually an avalanche on Mount Everest, and it was exactly how described. These men were on base camp, and the mountain itself had started to shake as some of the survivors described, and then snow had overcame them, and unfortunately some people have passed away. So even though I had that dream and the vision, and it was a prophetic dream, there was something that I could have not known, and I was nowhere connected to Everest, or I didn't know anybody in Everest, but I had that dream. And I've had other dreams like that. There was another time, and it had to do with back in the day, I kept seeing things in my sleep, and I dreamt about it a lot. It was on, I think it was like December 21st or 22nd. This is when I was in Calgary, and I had this vision, big waves coming, and I kept hearing sea, and I thought they were trying to say like SEA, like Seattle, and I thought, okay, well maybe there's a big tsunami coming to Seattle, and I told people about the dream that I had, and within a short days, I think it was on Christmas Day or Boxing Day, in Southeast Asia. So if you think SC, Southeast Asia instead of, and I was thinking Seattle because I was getting a piece of it. And there was huge waves and a tsunami that had taken people out on Boxing Day, which is so unfortunate. And I did know somebody who had a daughter that was there and survived, thankfully. But I was having these prophetic dreams, and I didn't know why I was having them. So, we all can tune into random events that happen in the world. And it may be cool if you've actually seen it, but certain things are meant to happen in people's lives. And when you're sensitive or you're in tune with spirit or connected to spirit, you may have an experience where you actually see something like this in a dream. And when you see it in a dream, it's really, it could be scary, it could be unnerving, and it could be a little bit not good feeling because you might think that, oh, well, maybe I could do something about it. And I've asked my guides very clearly about what it is why I would see these things. And what they said was that, I was seeing events, but these events were meant to happen, and I was tuning into the future of these events. So, because certain futures of things doesn't mean that other times that we don't have choices in our future, but certain things are meant to happen. And during 9/11, in the Twin Towers attack, there was people dreaming of like planes hitting buildings and things like this, and I didn't see anything like that, but it happened back in the day. And great another prophet, and they called him the sleeping, not the sleeping prophet, but anyway, his name was Nostradamus. He actually had predictions of like certain world events happening, and he actually talked about 9/11 like hundreds of years ago prior to it actually happening. And so, you know, how is it that, you know, because time doesn't exist in spirit, and we have the ability to perceive future things in life, sometimes for ourselves, but mostly it's for world events through a prophetic dream. So I've asked to not see random things like that anymore, and I don't want to see things that I can't change. Because why do I want to be right about some tragic event that's happening to somebody? And I don't think that you'd probably want that either. Unless you can change something, and you can be very clear with your guides, is say, you know, if there's anything that I can help with, that I can change the world, or give somebody some type of knowing that is going to better their life, then yes, I'm open to prophetic dreams. But if no, then please don't give them to me. And it's those words that you use with spirit that clearly define what you're open to seeing and what you're not open to seeing. So I've actually stopped seeing the prophetic dreams in that sense. Hopefully my alien one's not a prophetic one. Because I'm not looking forward to being taken away by three little gray guys in a nice really UFO with couches and things like that. But yeah, no. But it was a fun dream. It was one of the best ones I've had in a long time. It was so cool. So I definitely won't forget that one. So the next type of dream there is called a wish dream. And many people have this dream. You know, occasionally, you know, if there's something you wanted, or you desired in life, and you kind of like were longing for it, and then in your dream you actually have it. Let's just imagine that, you know, you're a middle-aged man, which is not me. I am middle-aged, mind you, but that somebody wanted a Ferrari, and they loved the car. They love cars, and you know, personally, I'm not that guy, but there could be a guy out there that loves his Ferrari, and then he gets in his dream, and he's like in Hawaii, he's Magnum PI, he's driving down the road, he's driving the Ferrari, he's living his dream, and that's a wish dream. Or you feel attracted to someone who you absolutely like are attracted to, but you're not with in their life, and they're with someone else, and then you have this dream that you're actually with them, and you live out a moment of what it's like to be with that person. So that's called a wish dream. And even though that person's still alive, there's just energy that you're carrying that you need to kind of work out the karma through your sleep cycle to release, to deal with it, to know what it feels like, so that you can see it and go through it. And I'm just going to get a little sip of pop here, which is. So how's everybody doing? Y'all getting this so far? Is everybody hear me loud and clear? And understanding the dream. So far we've talked about a prophetic dream. And so if you give me thumbs up, I know you can hear me all well. And the wish dream, which is the dream where we have when we're desiring something in life. I see some thumbs up here, so. And I see some questions answered. I know Jenna's going to make note of some of them, but we'll see what I can get to and what I can't, because I know I have some dreams that are already submitted. And I'm always working in the modules. Anybody that submits their stuff to me via email always gets answered first before I answer anything that is submitted on the site. So this next type of dream, because again, 5 types of dreams. This type of dream is called the astral travel dream, or the astral visitation dream. And either one is still an astral part. And astral means in the astral world. And there's different levels of energy. There's the spirit world where, I mean, there's higher levels of energy where the light is, and then there's lower levels where we are in the physical world, and there's a place kind of in between, which is called the astral world. Now, if there's ghosts in the world, and there's not very many, like I've spoken to before, they'd be in that plane of existence. They're still kind of lingering in our own world, but they're still in the astral world. And many times I hear reports of people saying that their home is haunted or something like this, and I go there and there is no ghosts. But what happens is they have like 5 children. And because they have 5 children, when they're sleeping, sometimes a child can be astral traveling out of their body. And when I was young, particularly, I used to dream when I was young, and I know this was really happening, but I would leave my body at will at night. And I used to go flying around the neighborhood. I could just think myself where I wanted to be, and off I went. And I remember as I aged, I wasn't able to do it as much anymore, but I was in my neighborhood. I was in a place that I was familiar with. So I obviously loved to play outside when I was a young boy. So I would go out when I was sleeping and play my neighborhood. Nobody else was around except me, but it was never dark. It was kind of dusky. It was kind of like the setting sun all the time. It was the dusky place. It was kind of a reddish sky, and I'd be out there floating around. And I remember being in this space and place. And that's what you would call astral traveling. You're out of your body. You're aware that you're out. You know where you are, and you wake up with the memory that you've been in this space. But it's a place that you know, and it's your spirit that has actually kind of stepped out of your body while you sleep, and you've actually visited these places. Many people do this. Many people do this, and it doesn't have to be a child. But the only reason why I remember it so greatly when I was a child is because I could fly, and now I can't do that anymore. I couldn't consciously remember how to fly, and I remember as I aged and I was having these dreams experiences, and I lived on a hill in Elmsdale, Nova Scotia. And as I aged, I became more ingrained in the world, and I wasn't able to fly so much anymore. So I remember running down the hill, flapping my arms, thinking, okay, and I actually would lift off a couple, 2 or 3 feet, and then I'd just kind of float back down to the ground. And as I aged even further, I was no longer able to do it. But I'll tell you one story about the astral world where I was sleeping, and it has to do with a young boy who lived down the hill from me. Because I knew I could do this at will when I slept when I was young. And yeah, because somebody says it keeps freezing. It's because if I move my arms around really fast, then it freezes up. So I got to stop wailing my arms around, I think.
And they can refresh their page.
Yeah, you can refresh it and it'll come up too. So when I was young, I had a young person down at the bottom of the hill. His name was John. And I believe he had leukemia, and I used to play with him. And my mom would bring me down to the bottom of the hill, and I'd play with him. And I had a great time with him. He was a great young boy that I loved to spend time with. A little bit older than me, but he was always sick. And anyway, one time he had passed away, and I was so distraught because I didn't understand death at that point in my life. I was just a young boy. So I said, Mom, can you take me down to play with John? And she says, no, Shawn, we can't do that anymore. John is passed away. He's moved into heaven, which I didn't know the difference between heaven and the spirit world, the astral world. And I said, Mom, well, I can go there tonight. I'm going to go there and look for him. And I said, I'm going to go find him. And when I went to sleep, I got up out of my body and I walked out of my house and I went down the hill. I even cut through the field, I remember. And I went into his house. And again, in this type of space and place, it was never like dark or anything. Even in his house, I didn't see any people. And when I went into his house, I actually went looking for him, and I couldn't find him. I couldn't find him in the house. And so anyway, I woke up, I came home, and I said, Mom, I looked in his house all night, and I couldn't find him. And she goes, well, Shawn, that's because he's not there. He's moved into the light. He's moved into heaven. And I didn't know what heaven was. I mean, my mom was Catholic, and she was using terminology that she could only understand from her religious beliefs. And I assumed that when you die, you were in this astral place. So hence why I knew there was ghosts in this place too, because there's another story that I'll tell you. And it was about when I used to leave, in my sleep, you leave my body and go into the astral world. I remember being out in my front yard one night, and then we had telephone poles out in the front yard. And I seen somebody floating above the telephone poles in very period clothes. And was wearing she kind of looked like Mary Poppins a bit. She had an umbrella and she was like floating across the poles. And I tried to talk to her, and she wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't even look at me. She just stuck her nose up and kept on floating by and just kept on going. So the reason why I saw her is because I believe that she was dressed in period clothes. She was in the astral world. She was still in that space and place, and she wasn't from my time. So I believe that I had my first experience when I was young with a ghost who is in the astral world. And that's where I feel there's people that go to the astral world when they're kind of in between places or haven't moved on into the light yet. So, but we all visit this place. We all have actually memories of being in, being in the astral world, whether you know or not. You might have been in your home doing something. You might have been with a friend visiting them. You might have been actually having a visitation with somebody in the astral world as well. And people in the light can visit you there as well. And I remember exactly that there was a dream, again, that I wrote about in my book, and it had to do with my father. And this is a visitation dream, but it's still in the astral world. I hadn't gone into the spirit world of the other side. I walked out of my body when I was 16 years old, and I was sleeping downstairs on my mom's couch. And as I stood up, I could see myself sleeping. I could actually see myself asleep on the couch. And then as I walked away from my body, I saw this enormous white light open, and out walked my father, who had died just 1 year ago. And, he was a military guy. Unfortunately, he passed away of a massive heart attack. And he walked out of the light into the space where I was. And he was wearing a long white robe. And, I saw my dad, and I was so overwhelmed by the feeling of seeing him. I loved him so much, and I missed him so much. It was so nice to see him. He looked healthy. He looked well. I couldn't believe he was wearing a long white robe, because I thought it was ridiculous, because I never literally thought that my dad would ever be caught dead wearing this. But here he was, and he was talking to me, and he told me a message. He says, I want you to know I'm okay. And you need to tell your mom that I'm okay. You need to tell your brother I'm okay. And I said, I can do this. I will do that. So in this space, I had a visitation from my dad. And it was in my home. And again, I could see myself sleeping in my house. And I did pass a message on. And the story is much more in depth than that. But just to give you an idea or a synopsis of what it's like to be in this space and place, you can have visitations from people that you love. And there's probably many people that are here in the Facebook Live, or who are going to watch the Facebook Live later at a later time tonight or tomorrow, whenever, that you've also had experiences like this as well, where you've actually had a visitation from somebody that you love that has passed away. And I know somebody had submitted something like that in a dream, so we're going to go through that later. But now something else that happens to some people, and this is, again, 5 types of dreams. This is the 3rd type of dream. There's the astral travel and astral visitation dream. And it's in that space or place that you can have a visitation from somebody that you love that has made the transition into the spirit world. And sometimes this happens to people. There's a thing called sleep paralysis. And I know there's people out there who have had this experience where they've woken up and they actually felt stuck and they weren't able to move, or they felt like somebody was holding them down, and they felt fear. They might have experienced seeing something that they're unsure what it was, but they weren't unable to move. Now, when you're in between this state, you're kind of in REM and into the alpha state, the daydream state, but you're still asleep, and your consciousness is coming back, but your spirit hasn't fully made its transition back into your body. It can have this stuck feeling, or this feeling of astral catalepsy. A lot of people who have sleep apnea experience having astral catalepsy, which is being stuck and waking up before they're fully back in their body. And sometimes they might feel like they're fighting something or trying to push something off themselves. Really, most times they're actually fighting themselves, because your spirit's trying to get back in your body, and you're fighting yourself from getting back in a sense. So there's weight, there's pressure, and there's like you kind of feel like you're stuck in some sense. So what I tell people who experience astral catalepsy or sleep paralysis is to tell the Creator, tell your guides that, when my spirit leaves my body at night, please help me make a clean entrance into my body and a clean exit when I leave. And then when I come back, help it make a clean entrance back without being stuck. So I ask my guides, my angels, and the Creator to help me make a clean exit and a clean entrance every time I sleep. And I'm asking for your help. So all you have to do is very clear with your words, and speaking to Spirit, speaking to your angels, speaking to your guides, speaking to the Creator, that you just, your intention, or what you intend to happen while you're sleeping, is to actually to actually get out of your body easy and come back in without any stuck feeling. And that should stop the sleep paralysis. If you have sleep apnea, what I would suggest is please getting a sleep apnea machine or some type of snore guard that would help you breathe better, because a lot of the times people who have issues like that tend to experience sleep paralysis. And it's kind of scary. I've experienced it myself a few times. I've actually asked for the experience from the spirit world to see what it was like so I could understand it. And it's happened, and I've asked for it not to happen again because I don't want it to happen again. And it hasn't happened again, but it does happen sometimes. Okay, so moving on. The next type of dream is the 4th type of dream. It's called the information or problem-solving dream. And this happens to some people where you actually you've been thinking about something for so long and you're stressed about it and you don't know how to fix it, But then when you go to sleep, you have a dream, and when you wake up, you know exactly what to do. You're like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is this is going to, you know, I'm going to fix this situation like this. For instance, if you had a car and you were doing repairs and you were doing things that everything wasn't working out right, but then you went to sleep and you were working on the car and you realized that you needed to turn this thing just a little tiny bit more, and it would just on the carburetor and it all would run just fine. So you went to sleep with the problem, you work through it in your dream, and you wake up, you have the solution. You're like, oh my God, I know how to fix this. It's because we get in our way with our thought processes sometimes. Or it could be this: you lost something. You lost a ring, or you lost something in life, and you don't know where you put it. So then you go to sleep, and you're so stressed about where it is that I put this, and then you go to sleep and you actually are looking through your house, astral traveling, and you find it in your sleep. And then when you wake up, you go instantly to the laundry basket where it is and lift up the clothes, and lo and behold, it is right there, and it's actually where your spirit is problem solved during the night. Or this is another scenario. You have a problem with a person that you work with, or it could be a friend or family member that you're stressed about, and in your dream, you work through the problem, but you know just the right words to say. And in life, you talk to that person and you speak the same things that you saw in your dream, and then everything just works out fine. So that's literally a problem solving dream, or an information or problem solving dream. And those aren't as common, but you know, but we still may have them here and there for different reasons. So that's the fourth type of dream. So when you're having a dream, you can say, you know, did I have a prophetic dream? Did I have a wish dream? Did I astral travel? Did I have an astral visitation from somebody that I love? Did I have an information or problem-solving dream? Or did I have a release dream? And that's the last one we're going to talk about. But I want to go back to the astral travel. There's something I forgot to mention with sleep paralysis. And this is kind of in between space. And a lot of people with sleep paralysis too can experience something else called where they're actually they're in the REM sleep. And sometimes people actually have this where they wake up and they're still in the dream. And kids can have this. If you're a parent, you might have experienced this with one of your children, that they have a night terror. And they wake up and they can't tell the difference between reality and where they are currently, and they're still kind of in their dream world. They're awake, but they're kind of between REM and in their alpha state, where in their daydream, but they're walking through a house seeing monsters or something like this that aren't really there, but it's something in their dream that they're actually experiencing. So that sometimes can happen. So what you could do if you have anybody you see that is sleepwalking, you speak to them and you say, call upon their spirit to wake up and say, I'm cutting the cords of karma that are connecting this soul or this spirit, this being, my friend, my family member, from this dream. I cut the cords, and may their spirit come fully back and fully awake. And you will do this, and they will wake up and go, where am I? Why am I here? And people have died from sleepwalking. It's very rare. But I have read somebody in the past who was connected to these people, and you might remember the story. There was a great guy from Newfoundland, a really nice man. I didn't know him personally, but I know some of his friends who I read. And there was a guy named Stephen and Chris, and they had the Stephen and Chris show, and I believe it was on CBC. And I think it's Stephen. Was it Stephen? I can't remember who it was now. It's been so long, but I think it was Stephen. He was from Newfoundland anyway, really good guy. And they were partners, and they did the show together. It was about home renos and home decorations, and they had a great show. I actually kind of enjoyed the show. And unfortunately, the one guy sleptwalked all the time, and they lived in a condo, and they often slept with their doors open, and he actually sleptwalked right over the balcony and perished due to an accident. And I know there was probably a lot of people out there speculating, but he had a very strong history of sleep apnea and sleepwalking, and he actually sleptwalked right over the balcony and unfortunately passed away. So that's like an extreme case, but making sure that you are properly sleeping, going through the proper sleep cycles, whether you need a CPAP machine or a snore guard of some sort to help you breathe and go through the cycles much greater and better, then it will actually help. So, I remember the time when I had my ex-wife's daughter-in-law. She had It was my sister-in-law's child. She had extreme night terrors. And you'd shake her and she couldn't wake up. So I cut the cords of the karma that she was experiencing and told her to wake up and brought her back to full consciousness. And then she would wake up and realize where she was. And with this crazy look in her eye, like, well, you know, where did the monsters go type of thing. It's sad when you see a child go through that. But remember what I said about cutting the cords of the karma, connecting. And because it's something they're working through in their dream that they've turned into a monster. And kids have a lot of fears just like everyone else or any other adult out there. So this leads me to this next type of dream. And it's the most predominant types of dreams that people have. And it's actually called the release dream. And most people, when they have a dream, they might be in some type of weird situation, like me on the UFO in the high-rise building, etc. But it's more of like a scenario that you've set up to work through something that you're carrying inside your own spirit. So, for instance, you have somebody at your work that you have trouble with, but you don't know how to deal with them in life. So you go to sleep and you're not at work, you're in some strange town and you're running from building to building, but there's a monster chasing you that you can't seem to get away from. And it's just trying to get you. And sometimes you just face it and then it dissipates or you overcome it. And until you actually face it, you can't overcome it. So, but why we have them is because we carry energy in our spirit. We carry energy with us that is fear or anxiety related, and we don't know how to deal with it in a waking conscious state of being. So our spirit or our subconscious creates and with your guide's help as well, create a scenario that you have to face your situation, or you have to face a fear which you can't relate to the real fear or struggle that you're dealing with in life. So I hope that makes sense a little bit. But most people have something that you can't get away from, or you're struggling with, or you're fighting against. And you know what I would tell you is, what are you fighting against in life? What are you running from in life? What are you avoiding in life? What is it that you're not dealing with? And then you'll realize that what those things are in your dream are just that. And sometimes people have recurring dreams. And when you have a recurring dream, it's because the same scenario keeps showing up in your life and you're really not dealing with it. And you're not working through it. You're not finding a way to heal from it or to confront whoever is making you feel that way. So if you were able to do it in your waking life, every time it would show up, then the reoccurring dream would stop. Okay? I'm just going to get another sip of pop and we'll get going. So I'm going to read through some dreams now, and then I'll take some questions that Jenna will. What's that? 2 dreams that are good? Yeah.
Well, there's 2 that people have done so far.
Oh, so there's 2 good ones here that she's told me about anyway. And I've got some here, and the 2 that are submitted, we'll go through and we'll see what happens. So this one is from an anonymous person. The person submitted but didn't want to be named, so they chose to be anonymous. So dream 1. He is outside at the home. Okay, both of these dreams are from the same person, but dreamt on different days. So these are 2 different dreams, but of the same person. He is outside at the home of his late mother. 2 black cats come towards him and attack him. One of the cats appears rabid, with bulging yellow eye. One cat grabs a hold of his arm, and with its teeth and all its claws, he tries to get the cat off, but is unsuccessful. He slams his arm and the cat violently against the side of the house to try to shake it free, but again he fails. Finally, he stabs the cat. But this is kind of a dark one. I didn't read this one all through, but I'm going to go with it anyway, because sometimes even the dark, scary, creepy ones like this, this dream, really mean something. So it's not as dark as what it may sound like when we figure this out. He stabs the cat with a knife and kills it. It lays dead on the ground. So he had to confront whatever it is that was bothering him. And he looks down and sees that the body of the dead cat then changes. It morphs into the dead body of his late father-in-law. This one's a pretty good one. And I'm just going to read this one first, or talk about this one first, because it's good. So typically, symbolically, when there's somebody who's dealing with cats, and cats could represent this, and from my experience, sometimes cats represent females in your life. It depends on how you felt, if they were females or not. And it sounds like his family. He's having family issues, and he's turned probably 2 ladies, and there's one lady particularly who is very strong-willed or outspoken and is not physically attacking him, but mentally and emotionally maybe saying things that hurt him. or bother him. And in life, he's not dealing with it. So he's turned to family members, and I'm going to say probably female family members, probably sisters or aunts, or somebody who is more distant, because it could be that even though he dealt with it with these people, the dead body turned into his father-in-law. So this now is this is the voice of someone else, but it's further away from the family. So even though he's dealt with the energy from two people, there's someone else in the family he's not dealing with that is more distant in the family. So really in life, he's struggling, and it's bothering this person, the anonymous person. It's bothering you that his family is saying things or how they deal with things. And even though in this dream you're seeing them attacking him, it's not really attacking him. It's really just the energy that some people in the family, whether they're sisters or sister-in-laws or the father-in-law or somebody in a more distant family manner, are saying things against this person, and it's either bothering him or it's really bothering you or both of you, and you're having a release dream to release the energy that you're carrying in your spirit related to dealing with your family. And it's not necessarily the cats again or someone physically attacking. It's the words, it's the things that people, the slights that maybe, or somebody's insulting him or insulting both you and him, and it bothers you, and you're dealing with it in a kind of a non-direct way to release the energy of feeling like that it hurts you. So you're facing it in a different way, and he has to face it. And I think the solution to the problem is him dealing with it, and him dealing with and having communication and telling him what he's unhappy with, but doing it from a place of love, definitely not anger, but doing it from a place of love to help these people who you feel are attacking him in some way, and just being honest and saying, this hurts me, and asking them please not to treat him that way anymore. But that's really what it is about. So dream number 2, same fellow. He's standing holding a duffel bag. When he looks in the bag, he sees a head. It's a bald and scary looking, like the Voldemort character in the Harry Potter movies. He recognizes the head in the bag and realizes that it's his own head that he's carrying in the bag. Well, that's a strange one. I love it though, because these are good ones to test me with for sure. But the bag, it's his. It's just that, he feels he's carrying guilt about something that maybe he has done. And it's almost like he's serving himself his head, because he's carrying guilt within himself. And he's carrying and feels guilty. And there's a part of him that either he feels or you feel like he's done that, that is overwhelming for him. And he feels guilty about maybe saying something or have done something. And there's a part of him that is not the same because of what has been said or what has been done. But he needs to let go of that and forgive himself, or forgive him, people that have done certain things that he's confronted. And this could be you dreaming of, like, it's obviously you worry about your husband or your partner very strongly about what he's going through and the people in his life. And even though you're having these dreams, it's really about you worrying about him, about what he said or what he's done, or how or he has regret about something. And you see him carrying that regret. It's not really death. It's just it's an end of something. There's a part of him that was not good with the situation, and he's carrying that part. So, and it could be a situation that happened in the family. It really sounds like it's family related to me. Based on the first dream and the second dream, it sounds like there's a family situation that wasn't dealt with very well, and he is torn about what to do, how to deal with it, and he feels like he might have done something that was wrong, and he's carrying that guilt around it, or you're carrying the guilt for him. So that's really what it's all about. Even though we twist it in some strange, dreamy way, it's really not like literally what it seems. It's very symbolic. Okay, so let's get into another dream. Submitted by a lady named Lucy. So here it goes. I'm by a body of water, a large body like a big sea or ocean. There's a huge rock in the water on the horizon. I start going towards it in the water, and the bottom of the body of water is too rough to walk on. They were big, sharp rocks, so I started to swim underwater. The water appeared to be clear, and also did not seem to come up for air. Not having to come up for air was an after dream thought, she says. not part of the dream. As I'm swimming, I started seeing shadows above my head on top of the water, as if I was floating, it was a floating object that could potentially keep me from coming up from out of the water and being trapped underneath. I felt worried and a little scared. Maybe so I turned around and swam to where there was no more shadows overhead. And then I came up from being underwater. The depth of the water was shallow enough that I could stand up. My body was still completely submerged in the water up to my neck. I looked around and saw that there were others doing the same thing, walking in the water. And I assumed they too were going towards where I was going. At first, coming out from underwater, it felt as if my vision was a little bit obstructed by some small waves and debris floating on the surface of the water. The water was not stormy at all. I started to reorientate myself and see if I could locate the big rock I was walking towards originally. And finally saw it. Oh, good, I thought, and started to walk towards it again, and then I woke up. Thank you, Shawn, for offering to do this for your audience again. I hope, but I leave it up to you, to universe to decide if I was chosen. So you've been chosen for me to kind of think this. So, Lucy, this dreams is very symbolic. You're literally in over your head in something. It sounds like work related, and it sounds like that you see other people that are in over their head or feeling overwhelmed. So the dream where you're in water and you're over your head, and there's uncertainty because you're uncertain about situations at work or what's going to happen or what's going to take place. So you're trying to look for a place that is safe, that you can come up and you feel like you can walk your path. So it might be a change of job, and you're fearful of your current situation at your workplace, but you definitely feel like that you're in over your head, and that you're able to navigate it fairly well despite the situation. You see other people navigating it, but they're following you. You're kind of leading them with your example because they seem to be following you to where you go, and you're looking for a much better, safer place to come up. So it's just, it feels like being overwhelmed by things and seeing other people overwhelmed. And again, it feels work related to me because these don't seem like family members. They seem like strangers of some sort. Even though you would know your coworkers, you've changed them into strangers because it's not important that you focus on them. It's just that you see them in over their head too, and they're looking for a better situation or better way. And I feel like where you found your way out, it's all going to work out because you know in your heart, though, that even though you feel overwhelmed, you know it will work out in the end, and you're going to figure your way out of it, and you're going to find where you need to go. So that's really the meaning behind that dream. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense to you, Jenna?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So when you break it down in that sense of like, what are you dealing with in life, and then you experience this in your dream, is this anxiety, stress, this fear, the worry that you have that you're carrying in life, you're not able to deal with. So in an unconscious way, your spirit looks for a way to deal with that energy so you can release it. So you're not walking around feeling overwhelmed, because if you overburden yourself, it's just too much. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to get another little sip here. And we're going to go into the next dream. And then again, Linda. Hello, Shawn. For quite a while, I've been experiencing visions of people I don't know doing normal day-to-day things in time just before I fall asleep. Not awake, but not asleep. Actually, they used to appear in a frame that looked like watching TV, but they aren't people. I know I don't receive a message coming through. It's just that I'm observing people and their daily activity. This is frequent, and I'm curious what it means. Thank you, Linda. Well, the people that are coming to you, I think, are spirit. And if they see that you're receptive or aware, they don't have to say anything, because spirit doesn't usually speak. They usually use telepathy or mind voice rather than speaking to you with a voice. But I feel like spirit, and it could be your soul group. It feels like your soul group to me, that while you're going to sleep, you're able to perceive them and see these different faces of people that are actually checking on you. So that's my thought on that dream itself. It's not that they're trying to do anything or harm you or scare you. It's just that your soul group is checking up on you, and you're aware, and you can see them for moments. And it could be people you've lived other lifetimes with, but they're just showing up to see how you're doing in your life. And they're able to know, in a sense, that they know that you can see them in that space because you're creating space in your mind. because you're in that rest space and going to sleep. You've created space in your mind where it's not too busy, where spirit can get in. And that's what it's like to be a medium in a sense, except you're doing it just before you fall asleep. Okay, so I have one more dream here. Hello, Shawn. In my own experience, when I was visiting, when spirit visited you during a sleep, I described it as being unforgettable, detailed, and emotional. I've had one profound sleep experience, and it was my first connection from spirit when a friend of mine who had just been stabbed to death on Halloween night in Bridgewater for being gay, unfortunately. And she names the man. So this man named John visited me in the night before his service, because he unfortunately had really truly died in life. I saw him when I looked out the window, and I ran downstairs, and we sat at a picnic table all night talking. He was a cook where I was a manager, and he had his cook's whites on, which is white is symbolic, definitely symbolic of clothes that he's wearing. So even though he had the white clothes, it's like when I was explaining my dad, he showed up on a white robe. It's like he was transitioning, and it means like new beginnings and things like this. But I feel like he was really visiting him. He said he was an employee of that month. He was an employee of the month that month, and he was so proud of himself. So we spent the whole night talking about his work and different things. And then in the morning, he said, I have to go now. And I said, I know. He stood up and walked away and slowly disappeared. This was profound for me, as it's such a shock that he died, and it was a shock for him as well. So people that have lost loved ones visit them in their dreams. I ask if they clearly remembered the dreams days and years afterward. If so, then if it was a visit from spirit and not a dream, is that correct description? Well, Linda. Well, Linda, that actually was a visitation from your friend after they passed. They can visit you, and if they know that it was that your soul or spirit was reaching them, you were in the astral world. You came out of your house, you went outside, and you went to a picnic table area. So you came out of your house. The house itself is a representation of you and your body. So when you come outside of the house and you're out of the house, it's like you're out of your body. So you went out of your house, outside, sat at a picnic table, had this conversation with where you met him, and you woke up. And I do believe visitation dreams are profound. I remember, like, again, the one from when I was 16 when I met my dad, and I had another one that I remember with another man named John McGrath. And I wrote about him in my book. And this is one of the coolest visitation dreams I've ever had, because I used to work with this guy, John McGrath, in Calgary, Alberta, where I was living. And I worked with him several years. He was a retired military guy, but he was doing a part-time job working where I was working at that time, making office furniture. And we used to build some material in AutoCAD for high-end office furniture. He worked right beside me. And he also played accordion in a band called the Dory Mates. And he was a great guy. And he worked for some years. And then as we were downsizing, he decided to physically, permanently retire from working, as he had a pension from the military, and he'd worked a few years just after that, just with the company that we were with. It used to be called Sept International, and then it became Hayworth, which bought out Sept International at the time. And John worked with me, and I remember he asked me once, because back in the day I was working as a psychic medium, and I had my own web page, and I was able to set up a Facebook page way back in the day. And anyway, he asked me for help of developing his web page and stuff, and then he retired, and I never heard from him anymore. And I remember I set up his Facebook page called the Dory Mates, and this is when Facebook really first came out. And I set up his web page because I had a little bit of knowledge about how to do that, because I was operating my own web space. So several years later, I don't even know how long exactly, but probably like 15 years have passed, maybe more. I'm now living in Nova Scotia, because I was living in Calgary, Alberta at that time, in Canada. And I had this dream where I was at, for whatever reason, I was at Superstore. I don't know why, but I was at Superstore. And I was at, which is a grocery store in Canada, if there's any people here from the States that are listening and watching. And I looked down I was in the produce section, and I looked over in the produce section, there was this man walking through the grocery store. And it was this man, John McGrath, who I haven't seen in 15 years. And I was actually looking, I was like, oh my God, John McGrath. I mean, how are you doing? I haven't seen you forever. I said, does this mean that you died? And he wouldn't answer me. He just looked at me and he smiled and he looked great. He looked good. He looked vibrant. And then he walked off into some place, and then for whatever reason, I was in a restaurant now, and John was there staring at me, and he looked at these women sitting at a table who I did not recognize. And there was 3 or 4 women, and now I became a waiter. I was serving them food and drinks, and he kept looking at me. And I'm like, okay, John, I said, I still see you here, and I was talking to him, and he wouldn't respond to me. And I was like, I didn't know who these women were, and then he just smiled and walked off into the light. And I woke up instantly, and I checked my phone. I'm like, oh my God. And I told Michelle, I said, I had this crazy dream of a guy that I used to work with in Calgary. And I told him the story. I told her the story about, setting up his website and his Facebook page. He played in accordion for a band called the Dory Mates. And I looked up John, and because he wasn't on my Facebook or anything, we haven't been speaking in over 15 years. And I decided to look for John to see if he had died. So I did John McGrath, Calgary obituary, and sure enough, an obituary popped up, and it was him. He'd actually just died that week, and for whatever reason, and then as I read the obituary, there was 3 prominent women in his life. It was his wife, and he had 2 daughters. I now know the symbology of the dream. There was a visitation where he came to see me, and I was serving them food. It's symbolic. He asked me to be in service of these ladies, to let them know that he's okay. And I've reached out to them, and I sent them a message to say, this is going to sound absolutely crazy, but your dad come to me last night, and I saw him, and I didn't even know he was passed away. And he visited me, and I believe he showed me the 3 of you. And I think he wants to give me a message to tell you that he's okay. So I delivered that message. It was very profound and very moving, very memorable. I could never forget that dream. For all of my life, I'll never forget it. And, he remembered the work I did. And, even 15 years later, remember me helping him out. And he had come to me for a visit. And I'm looking forward to seeing him again when I make my transition to the spirit world. Even though we only worked together for a short time, I enjoyed my time with him. I know he'll be one of the people waiting for me when I go home. And as we all will have people waiting for us when we go home. So to answer the last person's question about for dreams, that with visitation, they're very memorable, and you usually don't forget them, and you wake up feeling like you just had a visitation with them, because your spirit can leave this physical form in this body, and sometimes even go to the other side. It can go to the astral world and meet people and have visitations, and that's exactly what happened with me. So, okay. So is there a couple dreams that were submitted, Jenna?
Yep. So this person, I missed their name. It went really fast, but they had a dream about what they feel is their spirit guide.
Okay.
Who came to visit them, and then they were best friends in a past life, and they had an agreement that one would be one spirit guide, and then the other would be the other. So in the dream, the spirit guide keeps telling her to plant a tree.
Oh, I've heard this before.
Plant a tree, plant a tree. Then she said to me, what are you going to do? And I said, plant a tree. So then the alarm went off. So now the person says, I guess I need to plant a tree, but what exactly does that mean?
Well, planting a tree, it's very symbolic what her guide is telling her, because her guide visited her in a dream and was telling her, she asked her spirit guide who visited her in a dream, and she realized she was actually having a visitation from her guide, was asking her to plant a tree, which is very symbolic. Some trees, grow. They grow, they flourish, they blossom into wonderful, beautiful things that have very strong roots and are grounded in life. And spiritually, when you grow, you have to make sure that you're grounded as well. And I think what her guide was telling her was it's okay to grow spiritually, but make sure you remain grounded, because just as the tree grows up into the world, and you can see that, underneath the tree, there's very strong roots, and they're very, and not only with trees, and I'll tell you a little bit of kind of indigenous type of storytelling that I've heard in the past, but, they have a strong support system, strong tribe that help them, because in the forest, it may appear, and there's all different types of trees, just like there's different types of people. You may have a birch tree, you may have a spruce tree, you may have a maple tree, you may have a fir tree, you may even have an alder bush. There's all different types, just like people, different types of people. But in the world, they appear to be separate amongst each other, but separate. But underneath the soil, all the roots are tied together. They're all holding each other up, that they're supporting each other. And it's good to be grounded and have good roots and to surround yourself with people that are going to support you. And it's symbolic, the tree is symbolic of that, of growing, but being rooted and grounded and having a good support system with the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And I'm 100% sure that's what your guide is trying to tell you. So I would grow a tree, exactly, grow it, and put it in a space or place to help you always remember that. To remember that your guide is with you and supporting your spiritual growth, but to have good roots, to remain grounded and strong and supported by all the other people that you are surrounding yourself for trees. So that's the message for that.
Perfect.
Okay.
The other one was from Marion. I dreamt of being at a motel, bogged down with a lot of stuff, which is my reality before I can move back to Alberta. A cougar passed by my open motel room door and gave me a long look. When I went to check out the town I may want to move to, I stay in a very similar motel with a very similar innkeeper that was in my dream. Would this be prophetic? Would it be where I'm meant to move to?
Sounds like it. It sounds like your soul. So again, it was her staying at a hotel,
Yeah.
but she wanted to move to a certain town, which is out west,
Yeah.
in BC,
Alberta.
But there was this like cougar that she saw,
And tons of stuff.
and tons of stuff.
Bogged down.
And she also had said that in life,
Mm-hmm.
she feels bogged down, very much bogged down,
Mm-hmm.
or tied down. The cougar represents the uncertainty or somebody that might hurt you in some way, or the fear of being hurt. So it's the unpredictability of the person that if you move out west, and I feel like that you want to move out. If the screen ever freezes, just hit refresh. I'll pop back up and then you can see me, just so you know. But it's very symbolic of the uncertainty of somebody that you're trusting out west around that place, and there's fear associated to it. You want to move there. Your spirit's telling you, I want to go there, but there's still some fear around doing it and letting go of what's bogging you down. That's really what it comes down to. It's actually, it's a fear release dream, but it's also you thinking about what you may or may not face moving forward in your life if you choose to go there. But I would say it feels like that's where you're meant to be. It does feel like that to me. So is there another dream?
Yeah. So this one I think is from Rosanna.
Rosanna?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what does it mean to pass away in a dream? I grew up being told it was not possible, but I did. I was in a car with someone driving recklessly, and we went over a cliff. I arose from the crushed vehicle and was moving around, and then when others arrived on the scene, I could not communicate with them, and they didn't acknowledge me. I assumed from this I had passed. I wonder what the meaning is around this.
So the question was, again, that this lady, Rosanna, had a dream where she perished in a car accident.
Yes.
She wasn't driving, right?
No.
There was somebody else driving.
Yes.
But she had died in the car accident and tried to communicate to people. This could be two potential meanings. This is a past life memory, potentially, that you've actually have died in a dream, or you have actually died in life previously and you're having that memory flash back to you. That's possible, because we've all lived many lifetimes. I would analyze what the car looked like, what time period it was, and that may be some clues as to whether or not it's a past life memory or not, because I can't distinguish because I haven't seen the car, you haven't described the car or the time to me. The other thing is that there's somebody in your life. I mean, there's a part of you that has died. It's not a physical death. It's a death where you're with somebody and something in the relationship or the partnership of the person you were with had died. And this person took an unexpected turn in the relationship or partnership or friendship. And the relationship, partnership, or friendship had ceased or had finished because of the choices the other person made. And it's symbolic of releasing the energy associated around, feeling like that this was out of your control. This was someone else's decision, and you were a victim which a part of you had died, not like figuratively, not literally, figuratively died, because you feel like you lost a part of yourself with that friendship, relationship, or partnership, and that part of you is gone now, and you were releasing the energy that you've been carrying because of that circumstance with that person. So those are two scenarios, and I would say it's probably the second over the first, but I would say it's probably the second for sure. So anything else there before we go?
Yep.
One more dream, and then I'll talk a little bit about Spirit Talker Tribe, and then we'll call it a night.
Wondering what type of dream it is when you periodically dream of what seems like a time in history that when something is messed up with it, the historic events, and then the present is different, then suddenly the dream shifts to a different present that is occurring, almost like visiting a couple different dimensions in the same time space.
Well, that sounds like a past life memory connection. It sounds like there's a bleed through between your past lives and your current life. And some of your memories are getting mixed up in between. So there's like maybe similar issues that you've dealt with in life that when you dream, you're actually having past life experiences of things that you've already experienced in other lifetimes that are memories that you're currently going through. And you're seeing things from the past that you've lived and experienced before in different time periods. That's why I said the time period's important. And then things that are similar in your life, and there's bleed throughs, I guess, in your soul memory of what it is that you're dealing with. So.
And that was Jeanette.
Jeanette. Well, thank you, Jeanette, for submitting that dream. So 7 days left. It'll be 6 tomorrow for Spirit Talker Tribe to sign up for the course. This is one module that I discuss, and I'll go through it all even more deeper in the course itself. And we talk about this for a full month, dreams. And every Wednesday I do a Facebook Live in the student group, and people submit their dreams to me, and we talk about dreams, figuring them out, what they mean, how to remember your dreams, and go deeper with it. So this is what it's like, in a sense, to have a module, a Facebook Live from a module. I did some of the teachings for the module itself, and actually went through a Facebook Live as if you were actually in the course and interacting with me. And people email me their dreams or their questions, and I work through it. And I do that, again, every Wednesday for the whole month of that module, and then we move on to another module. And dreams is definitely one that a lot of people had a favorite of and for. And I love dreams myself. I love helping people understand what they mean in your life, how to remember your dreams, and how to work through issues and know what they all mean to you, and etc. So the new bonus for Spirit Talker Tribe, if you sign up before in the next 7 days, but it's only 6 days and like 3 hours left remaining to sign up for Spirit Talker Tribe course. And there's a new bonus that I did announce at the beginning. I'll announce it again now in case you tune in late. If you sign up, and if you've already signed up, you're going to be entered for the draw. And it's the last kind of bonus before. There's already other bonuses that you get absolutely, like coming to Spirit Talker Tribe live gathering, which hopefully some people have seen the picture of the gathering. There will be a video coming later. But this bonus for just signing up, just being in the course, I'm going to draw for on October 1st, is you get an option. You get to go join Spirit Talker Tribe course level 2, because I have a level 2 if you wish to keep going after level 1. It's completely up to you. But if your name gets drawn, you'll get free entry to level 2, which has a value of, like, I don't even know what the value is. It's like $350 for level 2 for the year. Or you get to come to a free retreat weekend with me here in spring in Nova Scotia, Canada. If you can fly here and come here, your whole weekend's free. If you come in the airport, I probably even could have somebody pick you up at the airport. Yeah, Jenna said she'll pick you up. I'll get you to the retreat location. You get to spend the whole weekend with me and some other limited amount of people. And you get to attend the workshop for the weekend. You'll have accommodations and food, and then driven back to the airport if need be. And that would probably have a value. The course itself is going to have a value of $500 for the weekend, and that's accommodations, food, and everything included. Or it's probably like $600 with the drives back and forth, like from the airport, if you come in the airport. So you have a choice for the new bonus that I'll be drawing for. So if anybody wants to sign up for the course, you still can sign up. There's like 6 days and 3 hours left, or 2 hours, 3 hours and some. left to sign up. And you know, I'm looking forward. We have, I think, probably 180 year one people in the course that have signed up already for the year one, and there's some year two people that have signed up as well. We have a great group of people, and you know, when you're doing something like this, and you know, having a team or support, or having a tribe to go through this with is intensely important, and to support each other. And you can learn from other people's questions. Even if you don't want to ask a question, other people can ask questions at Facebook Lives, and you can learn from them. And you can learn from the course and the Facebook Lives, and doing it together and being there for each other and supporting each other. That's what Spirit Talker Tribe is all about. You get great teachings about, you know, growing your spirituality, making connections, and learning and understanding the universal language of spirit. But you also get to do with very unjudgmental, very like-minded people that are super awesome. And I'm so blessed to have incredible, great people that have taken the course last year. And I know there's some really incredible, great people that are taking the course this year, for all the people that are there. And I'm looking forward to connecting you more. I will do another Facebook Live. It'll be September 30th. That'll be the last day that you can sign up. And I'll be taking questions from anybody that has a question about the course itself. And maybe I'll do some more talking about different stories, etc. And so I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Thank you all for joining me this evening. And yeah, again, 6 days left to sign up for Spirit Talker Tribe, and then it closes down. And then I focus all of my energy and attention, rather than in the interest group, I do it with my student group and with incredible, great people. So you guys all have a really good night. Wilalio for joining me. Apnamultis, you're all my soul family, and I thank you for allowing me to share any wisdom and knowledge that I have with you. And I hope it helps you in some way, and work at remembering your dreams and understanding what they mean, and it can shift your life. You'll know what the message is, you'll know what you're not dealing with, and you'll know how to better to confront things, or who you can meet, etc. And but you guys all have a good night, and I'll see you on September 30th for the Facebook Live. Then the time will be announced. It probably will be again around the same time, 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. But have a good night, everyone.